What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Celtics Daily Channel with me, Mike Zakarian, as we continue to dive into Boston's NBA offseason, and we got some stuff yesterday. Some stuff from Adam Silver, some stuff from Jaylen Brown. We got some things to talk about, so I appreciate you tuning in. But do me a favor, just to make me feel better for the fact that I'm wearing a hat right now because my hair's making me look like Jimmy Neutron, but Jimmy Neutron who's aged. Hit the subscribe as we're continuing to grow, cruising up to 3K subs, so get involved in there. Get involved in the chat. As always, we end our shows with some of your comments from the previous day's video, so get involved. Have some fun with it. You know who wasn't having some fun with it yesterday? Jaylen Brown, man. JB, listen, you guys know I've spent plenty of time talking about Jaylen Brown and my love for JB and how he does not get enough respect. Well, yesterday he was on a show, and here's some quotes. If this is from Jaylen Brown, who has not closed the door on possibly joining the Hawks in the future, and says his grandma has spoken to him about coming home. And then he said, "You never know." I hate that. I don't want any of that. I don't want any of that. And I don't want anyone even talking themselves into it. Now, listen, if JB wants to do whatever he wants to do to make him happy, I'm not trying to stay in the way of a man's happiness. That's not going to be me. But I also don't want him to leave. And now his boy, right? His Boston boy, Kristaps Porzingis, is down there. And listen, I'm just going to get ahead of it now because this is what we're going to see. Trae Young has yet to extend with the Atlanta Hawks. There's a lot riding on this season for Atlanta, okay? There's a lot riding on this season for Trae Young, right? The NBA, whether it's the players or the coaches, every year seem hesitant to vote Trae Young or pick Trae Young to be an NBA All-Star. The Atlanta Hawks front office is not set on him being a cornerstone of this team moving forward, even though they've retooled around Trae, right? Porzingis, Jalen Johnson, a budding superstar, Zachary Rissache, former top pick. You've got, who else am I missing? Nickeil Alexander-Walker joins the crew. Luke Kennard joins the crew. They got the big man on Onyeka Okongwu, Dyson Daniels, most improved, all defense, right? And they still have yet to decide, is Trae Young going to be the man of the future? Now, you get somebody like this, an all-NBA guy who's probably about to average 27 a game, who's now, again, I'm just making the case for it. I don't want to see it, but he's now going to have the opportunity to be the big dog, the head honcho, right? No JT out there. Ball going to be in his hands. A lot is going to be relying on him. And he might like that taste. 27 points a game, taking the shots at the end of the day, right? Team runs through JB. He sees that roster over at Atlanta. Hey, he could be a piece there. And you're like, Mike, how is he going to get there, though, right? He's under contract. Well, listen, I just laid out the thing about Trae Young, right? So now let me do you a favor. We're going to go over to the trade machine here. And let's just say the Celtics decide, listen, we think we're going to lose JB, but maybe we sign Trae Young for a cheaper deal, and then we do, or like Atlanta signs him for a cheaper deal, and then they do a sign and trade. Okay? Now all of a sudden we're talking here for a second, and I can't stress this enough. No, thank you. I am not interested. I think JB is, as I've said, he lands somewhere between like the 15th and the 22nd, 23rd best player in the league. I'm not trying to do that, but those comments I don't love. And if, again, he gets a little taste of this, all right, so Trae this year is making 45. Then he's done. That's it. This is his last year, or maybe he's got one more year after that. He was extension eligible, has not signed the extension yet. So if that's the case, all of a sudden, if you like switch Trae for JB, not only do the Celtics save $7 million and they get off like the next 4 years, $236 million of Jaylen Brown, they get Trae Young back, who, you know, maybe makes sense. Maybe makes sense with JT. I hate it. I'm not trying to talk myself into it. I'm just saying this is going to be a dialogue moving forward. If Trae Young and Atlanta don't make sense this year, right? If it doesn't work, if Jaylen Brown pops off, then all of a sudden the conversation is like, could he be a number one? Is Jason Tatum actually holding Jaylen Brown back? We're going to see a lot of that dumb stuff, right? And then people are going to keep coming back to the clip that posted yesterday. So I hate it. And I hope Jaylen Brown comes out and was like, man, my words were taken. I was just having fun with it. That's a terrible Jaylen Brown impression, but I was just having fun with it. I'm a Celtic for life. Again, I don't think there's any realness to this, but I do think it's going to be a talking point this season, especially if the Celtics struggle, because even when the Celtics are doing good, right? Even when the Celtics were like consistently making Eastern Conference Finals, or when they lost in the NBA Finals, hell, even when they won the Finals, people start talking about, well, who's the best guy on the team? Do these two guys make sense? Should they be on different teams? Is it redundant, right? So imagine what they're going to do for the most likely the first year in the last decade where they're going to struggle to get wins. And if that's the case, the dialogue will be out there. So I don't know. You tell me, is anybody out there talking yourself into this? It's not going to be me. It's not going to be me. I'm Team JB forever. I think Trae Young's fine, by the way. I think he's like a real postseason guy, too. He is not scared of the moment. I wish he was a little bit better of a three-point shooter. I think people think he's way better at it than he is, just because you're like, oh, he takes some deep logo threes. Yeah, he does, but he misses a lot of them too. The one thing I will say about Trae Young, and again, I think people hate on him a little bit more than they should, he is an absolute elite passer, just elite passer. And if you've got a real rim running guy on your team, shout out to Myles Queta, I do think it really unlocks a lot of stuff offensively. We haven't had like Drew, like it's a different thing. It's a different thing. Like, and I love Drew. I love Derek White. Obviously, they make more sense on a team like this, but as a passer, Trae Young is just elite. Last season, okay, in the 24-25 year, he averaged 24 points per game, 3 boards per game, and 11.6 assists. So let's round up. We'll say 12 assists per game. Shot 41% from the field, 34% from 3, 87% from the line. So again, I'm not saying go do it. I'm not. I don't want that at all. But I have a feeling we're going to be talking about it a little bit. And JB, that is mostly your fault. Why'd you say that, bro? Why'd you say that? All right, let's get into the Pritchard effect. Let's talk to our guy PP. So this is going to kind of coincide with the other thing that we're going to say, but the NBA yesterday, the third topic we're going to talk about, the NBA yesterday, they made a rule change that they tested out in Summer League. So I don't know if you've noticed the cowardice of some NBA players where the game clock's winding down. There's 5 seconds left. Somebody misses a shot. The opposing team gets a rebound with like 2 seconds left, and then they dribble for a second, and then they're like, oh, I'm going to try to get a shot off, but they don't shoot it. And here's why they don't shoot it. For those that might not know, because I don't know how common knowledge this is. The players don't shoot those full court shots because they don't want it to hurt their shooting percentage, their three-point percentage, their field goal percentage. So they don't take those shots. It's crazy. It's crazy. So there's part of me, right? So anyways, the rule change that's going to happen, those shots no longer count as a missed field goal attempt. So it counts as like a team missed field goal attempt, but it won't. So if Tatum gets the board with 1 second left, full court heaves it, just chucks it and misses, that's not going to go against his field goal or three-point percentage. All right? And so they're like the kernel of the rule I'm okay with. Because I'm like, that does kind of make sense. Like, I don't think that should count against it. And, shout out our guy Peyton Pritchard, who has no problem taking those shots. Hell, he makes those shots. The other guy I think of, the best player in the world, not really thinking about that field goal percentage, Nikola Jokic. How many times have we seen Nikola Jokic basically, like, look the other way and just chuck it over his head one-handed, right? So, shout out the Joker, shout out Peyton Pritchard. If you can think of anybody else that has no fear taking those shots, put that in the chat because I want to give them some love as well. But the guys like Kevin Durant's one. He was even talking about it on Twitter yesterday, which again, it just goes to show you how terminally online I am with basketball stuff. But KD was explaining why he doesn't do it. And, just take the shot, man. Are you trying to win? Sure, it's a low percentage shot and it's not going in most of the time, but it's not like it's going to put you in a bad position if you give it a heat. Like the quarter's ending, the half's ending, the game's ending. Just give it a chuck. Give it a chuck. But anyway, so it's no longer going to count against it. So I do think we'll see more players doing it. But I don't know, man. It feels weird. Like, I both agree with the rule change, but I think it's dumb we had to change it because players weren't doing it. Like, I wish they were chucking it anyways, and then people were like, hey, this shouldn't count against them. We should give them some credit for doing the thing that they should be doing anyways. Lame sauce. It's lame sauce. That's what we say. But anyway, shout out our guy Peyton Pritchard because my guy's been doing it the whole time anyways. He doesn't care about the percentage. He's going to let it fly. And we've seen him do it time and time again. And again, Nikola Jokic, too. That's another one to give a little love to. Speaking of Adam Silver, though. So Silver had a press conference yesterday. because they had the board of governors, the commissioners, everyone, not the commissioners, the board of governors met. Now, the biggest thing they were talking about was the Kawhi Leonard and Steve Ballmer stuff, and they just gave us a bunch of jargon. They hired an outside investigative team. They're going to do the research. The third party is the one that will rule on this, and it's probably going to take a while. I don't think this is going to be a quick fix. However, I'm not going to talk about this for very long because as I'm recording this, Pablo Torre finds out just came out with another bombshell. And the one thing that I can tell you that I think is pretty damning, and I don't know, like, again, I don't have all the context for it, but I'm going to give you this one quote that I have. I'm very excited to go watch this after. Kawhi Leonard's $1.7 million Kawhi Leonard's $1.75 million no-show payday was running late. So he was due to get paid $1.75 million for the job that he wasn't going to do anyways. Then, per documents obtained by Pablo Torre finds out, the Clippers co-owner, Steve Ballmer, invested $1.99 million in the team's broke sponsor. So, like, they knew Kawhi wasn't getting paid. Then the Clippers step in, give them some money, just enough to cover, but not the same exact amount. And then the payment is made. I think the Clippers are cooked, man. And one of the things that, and again, I'll watch the whole thing and we'll talk about it more, but one of the things that will happen if this, like, really goes down, and if that, like, links it, if that's, like, the real smoking gun, some real evidence that's going to cook the Clippers and prove that they circumvented the cap, and again, for those that don't know, are like, whatever, dude, they gave him a little bit of money. This happens all the time. No, not to this extent. This is crazy money. This is almost upwards of $50 million, which then allowed them to do things like get Bogdan Bogdanovic, to go get, who else did they get? Like the moves around the edges, which you might not think are important, but this all of a sudden you go from a 5-man roster to a 9-man roster. Norman Powell, Derrick Jones Jr., all of those guys, right? Anyways, if that is to happen, Kawhi Leonard, the league will be in its right, in its ability to not only take some picks away from the Clippers, they literally could void Kawhi's contract. And then so they just lose out on having Kawhi Leonard, and then Kawhi Leonard hits free agency immediately. I don't know who's going to be spending crazy money on Kawhi right now. He's got like a half an ACL left. It's not like there's going to be a bidding war, I don't think. I don't know. Curious how people think. But anyways, there was another thing that Adam Silver said yesterday that I found disgraceful. I really did. It was upsetting. And again, I don't know how many people saw this because, again, hopefully you're just healthy people that are outside with your families, like getting exercise in, going to dinner, just not online. Yesterday, a question was asked, hey, what do you say about like the rising costs of watching basketball? Not even in arena, but like now, in order to watch the nationally televised games, you need ESPN, also access to ABC, NBC, the Peacock, Amazon Prime, and I feel like I'm missing one more. That's all these different subscription services. Silver's response to this was like, well, the NBA is more of a highlight league. So, like, lots of people follow basketball without watching any games. They just check out the highlights. What? How is that your response? So your response to it getting more expensive is that you're fine with people not actually watching your product. You're fine with people consuming games via somebody like my ass. You're fine with people following the NBA, with me coming to you and yelling at you for 20 minutes a day, or with some 9-year-old on TikTok being like, Jason Tatum hits a 3. Right? That's how you want people following the league? That was one of the most bullshit responses I've ever seen to an economical issue, being like, hey, you just got billions and billions of dollars from TV rights so that you could line the pockets of the owners who are circumventing the cap rules that you put in place to make this a fair game. And your response, and like just getting them all this money, and your response, players making, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to be making $1 million per basketball game he plays soon. And your response is like, hey, man, well, the good news is, you ever heard of YouTube Shorts? You can watch the game on YouTube Shorts. That's insane. That's the most bullshit response I've seen. And I couldn't believe it. Because Adam Silver, like, listen, love him or hate him, usually a pretty measured guy. That was like some Marie Antoinette let him eat cake, Also, did you expect to see some Marie Antoinette drop today? Come on. Built different. All right. Anyways, that's enough on Adam Silver. Curious on people's takes. Let's get into some of your comments from yesterday. But before we do, a reminder, hit the subscribe. Come on, get involved. Hit the subscribe. Let's take this baby to the moon. All right, so some of your comments yesterday, we get a long one here from our guy, Darren Anderson, 2978. Shout out to our guy, Darren. All right, bear with me here. He goes, I'm thinking outside the box, but I wonder what you think. Josh Giddey, only 22 years old and has shown can be a walking triple-double. At the trade deadline, he can be traded. What if the Bulls decide they signed him to trade him and want to get off the money? Come the deadline, the Bulls trade Giddey to the Boston Celtics for Anthony Simons. And now if Giddey for 3 additional years, there is like a $5.3 million cap difference when we send to Chicago, so they'd have to make a trade to lower their cap to make it work. This doesn't fully fix our salary cap, speaking of the Celtics, for next year, but I'm going to say something that will upset some fans. At the end of the season, White, I'm assuming has another great year, becomes a trade chip. White will be 32 and a rising salary of 28, 30, and 32 million over the next 3 years. So next year, the core would be Tatum, Brown, and Giddey. And he says Tatum 28, Brown 29, Giddey 23. Also, I'd like to see how Tatum and Brown could play with a true on-ball point guard to give them the ball, not just playing iso ball. I think there's a lot of interesting stuff in this comment. I do think Giddey does kind of make sense because he's going to be surrounded by slashers, shooters, and other solid defenders that help make up for his lack of defense. I do think there is something to be said for the Chicago Bulls like signing him to deal with it and then to get off the cap so that they can fully rebuild. The problem with Chicago is they like refuse to tank. So like that kind of move is saying like, hey, we don't want to have a good player on our team. Even if you don't think Giddey is a star, which like I don't, I think he's like a fringe level guy. Even if you think that, you know, if they move off of him, they're basically saying we got nothing, and we're going to build around Bucelis, Noah Senge, and just see what happens. But they just have not done that. And I want to shout out Vicky because Vicky had a fun comment in the chat. He said the year will be 2045, and the Chicago Bulls will still be the 9 seed, and that is kind of what it feels like, right? One other thing about Derek White, the only pushback I will give you credit that like the Derek White, his trade value is going to be so high. I agree with you. And it's like, how much higher can his ceiling go? Like, I think what we saw last year and probably this year is going to be the height of Derek White. However, when you get Tatum back, I do think you are still trying to win championships now. And I think Derek White is like a championship caliber piece. So you have to be very comfortable with what Giddey is bringing to the table. I don't see a move like this happening. Interesting thought process, though. Interesting thought process. And then we got Troubadour at heart says, when physically talented players, we talked about Kelly Oubre yesterday, when physically talented players like Oubre bounce around from team to team, there's usually a reason. I don't believe he's a winning player. Yeah, my thought on that too, like, and I still kind of like Oubre, but what was a real warning sign, although, you know, maybe this is too harsh, but like anytime a player doesn't fit in the Golden State Warriors, I'm like, oh, they don't know how to play winning basketball. That's kind of how I think. And Kelly Oubre went there, and he's supposed to be like a great off-the-bench scorer for them, and he just didn't work. We've seen it with a couple of guys, D'Angelo Russell, and Jonathan Kuminga, right? So I don't know. I don't really know what's going to happen there. But yeah, I agree with that take there. And then, Rob said always liked Oubre. Surprised he didn't pan out more. I see him as an athletic wing with offensive and, yes, surprising defensive potential. But given Oubre's time in the NBA, potential is no longer part of the outlook. Yeah, I agree. I agree with you all the way around. And then shout out our guy Kevin, who's always in the chat. He said Brown is a top 10, depending what he does this year. He will be top 5. Okay, I don't know if we see him in top 5, but Kevin, I love your belief. I love your belief. That's going to do it for us today. We'll be back tomorrow. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Stay safe out there, and hit the subscribe, baby.